Traveling solo has been one of the greatest gifts of my life. It's hard to put into words the impact of being out in the world in a new country where I don't speak the language, navigating that, getting through all the challenges, coming out on the other side and realizing I did it. It's exposed me to people who I otherwise wouldn't have met and shown me lifestyles that I didn't know existed. I wouldn't change it for anything. And 99% of the experiences I've had while solo traveling have been amazing. But of course, there are a handful of experiences that are seared into my mind because they weren't great. I think I have maybe 4 or 5 experiences from my solo travels that have stayed with me. They've been traumatizing in some way. I talk a lot about how amazing solo travel is, but I realize I haven't talked about the negative things very much. I want to share my full range of experiences as a solo traveler. And so this video is about one of the scariest travel experiences I had. And I also want to tell you what I learned from it. What's up everyone? If you're new around here, I'm Latoya and welcome to my channel. On this channel, I talk about travel, lifestyle, and locks. So in this video, I'm going to talk about one of the scariest experiences I've had in my travels. So let's just get into it. My heart's beating. So just to give you some context, I lived the digital nomad dream for a few years, starting in 2013 all the way to 2016. And during those years, I spent every summer in Europe. So in 2014, I started off my European adventures with this program called Diverbo, which basically connects English speakers such as myself with locals who want to practice speaking English. During this program, I met an American woman. We were like instant friends, we connected, and we said that after the program was done, we would do some travels together since she was also in Europe for the summer. So we finished the program. We decided we were gonna meet in Budapest in like 3 weeks. I went about my adventures. I ended up in Prague. I had a complete blast in Prague. So much so that I didn't buy my train ticket to meet my friend in Budapest until the day before I was supposed to leave. The year before in 2013, I had booked everything ahead before I went to Europe, and I ended up really being stuck when I wanted to stay in a place longer. I had to go because I had already booked things. So in 2014, I was doing things completely different where I was just booking as I go. That works for the most part, but in this situation, when I went to the train station to book my ticket, it turns out that there weren't many options. There was only one option for the next day remaining. Typically, there are 6 to 10 trains that go between Prague and Budapest. I had checked that at the beginning of the week, but by the time I went to book, they were all sold out, except this one train that was leaving Prague at 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It's a 7-hour journey, so right away I knew I would be getting into Budapest in the night. I was very uncomfortable with that, but there was no other option and my friend was waiting for me. So I bought the ticket. So the next day I got to the train station, found the right platform, and I was kind of standing under the sign that said to Budapest when this guy walks up to me and was like, "Is this train going to Budapest?" And I remember looking at him, looking at the sign, and then looking back at him being like, yeah. And I was already sort of suspicious about not him, but train stations in general, especially in Europe, can be a little bit sketchy. So I'm always on guard. And so when he came up to me and asked me this kind of obvious question, I did get a little bit suspicious. So I answered him, was polite, and then I just kind of walked away, and luckily the train came in to the station and I got on, found a seat. It was a busy train. There were professionals, kids, felt great, took my seat, got comfy, took out my book, took out some snacks, started reading and eating. and kind of just taking it all in. So the train goes along, everything is fine. I read for a bit and then I dozed off. When I woke up, still quite busy on the train, everything was all good. I did a little bit more reading, ate another snack, and then I fell asleep again. Well, the second time when I woke up, things had changed. It was dark outside and the train was also dark. There was still a lot of people on the train. There was a group of guys sitting in the back corner. They were there when I got on in Prague, and they were drinking alcohol and they were sort of loud when I got on. And when I woke up that second time, they were even louder. And I was wondering what was happening because we weren't moving. And then finally an announcement came on saying that they were having a mechanical issue. The train had broken down. And right away I was like, oh no, because I was already gonna get into Budapest late, 9 p.m. And I was like, and now we're stuck here. So we actually sat there for hours while they fixed the train. Finally, an announcement came on hours later, like I said, and let us know that the train had been fixed. So the train did move. As soon as we got into the next station, everybody cleared off except for the group of guys, 6 guys sitting in the back corner of the car, being loud, drinking, and one girl who was sitting directly across from me. And I remember seeing everybody get off and getting really nervous at that point. Plus the lights on the train for some reason never came back on, so it was dark. We continued on with our journey. I was looking out the window, kind of holding my breath and just hoping that Budapest was going to be coming up soon. Remember, this was 10 years ago, so I don't know if I didn't have maps or what happened, why I wasn't able to check where we were, but I had no idea where we were, how close we were to Budapest as the train was going along, when I heard something that sent chills down my body. The 6 guys in the back started singing, and what I heard was, do you know what we do with black pea in this country? P as in referring to, I'm trying to be polite here on YouTube, but referring to female anatomy. So they were singing, and this was the lyrics of their song. Do you know what we do with black pea in this country? I froze. I was shocked, and I was almost doubting myself, doubting what I had heard. I was like, no way. And I remember it was like all my senses just went to 1,000%. And I was listening again. These guys started singing very loudly about all the things they do to black pea. They started talking about brooms. They started talking about taking turns. I was absolutely terrified listening to these guys sing because they were singing about assaulting me. There was no other black person on the train. For anyone that's gonna say, oh, they were talking about someone else, and like, no, they weren't. I was the only person in the car, probably the only person on the train of color, and these guys kept going with these songs. Initially, I was frozen. I didn't know what to do, but there was the girl sitting right across from me, so I decided to go and talk to her. So I went across, sat down beside her, and I introduced myself. I was like, hi, I'm Latoya, and she was just like, no, 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 right away. She was like, no. And I was so freaked out by what was happening. Even though she was saying no, I was like, where are you from? I still continued talking. And she was like, Brazil, and no English, no English. And then I asked her in Spanish, do you speak Spanish? And she was like, no, 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 no. And she just kept saying no. And I was like, okay, she's not. I even tried to like mention to her, like, can you understand what these guys are saying? And she was just like, no, no, no. So I went back over to my seat, and that's when I heard they were standing up and moving around in the train car. The fear that grew inside of me, there's been no other situation in which I think I've been that afraid. So right away, the adrenaline just pumped through my body. I had pepper spray, which at that time I was traveling with pepper spray. Now I definitely don't, because I realize how terrible that can be on an airplane. But back then I was traveling with pepper spray. I took out my pepper spray. I also had a nail file that was quite sharp, and I took that out. And I, in my mind, was thinking of how I would defend myself when these guys came down, because they're still singing the songs. They're moving around behind me. I was too terrified to even look back at them to see if they were coming closer or anything like that. I just got myself prepared at my seat and started thinking how I would go about spraying them and using my nail file to stab them in the eyes, in the neck. And I basically got myself ready and sat there. And I think it was the waiting that was torturous. And they kept adding more to the song about pain and about suffering and about how I would be crying and it was so demented. And then I heard the announcement for Budapest as the next stop. And I had never been so grateful to hear something like that. My bag was already packed up. I put it on my back and I sat there still with my bear spray in my left hand and my nail file in my right hand. And then a thought crossed my mind, even if I get off of this train unscathed, I have to get through this train station that I do not know, get to a taxi. I have no idea where they are. But I got up and I was determined. I put my pepper spray and my nail file in my jacket. And as soon as we pulled into the station, I ran for the door, swung it open. And as I jumped off the train, jumping off right beside me was the guy who approached me on the platform in Prague asking if the train was heading for Budapest. And I went directly to him, told him exactly what had happened. He was like so sympathetic. And he said to me, like, come with me. My girlfriend is waiting for me outside of the station. She's from Budapest. She'll help you get into a cab. This guy was my lifeline. I don't even know if he realizes how soothing he was and how he saved me. So yes, we went outside. His girlfriend was there. She was so nice. They got me in the cab and I got to my hostel. And that's the story. Talk about rules that I broke. What I really mean is one of my golden rules is to always get into a new destination in the daytime. I do that because, a lot of crime happens mostly at night. I want to be able to see where I am. I want to be able to get into somewhere where there's families and kids and lots of people around. It's just safer. And so that's why I always get into new destinations in the daytime. So I broke my golden rule and I felt it the moment I booked that train ticket. I was like, I hate getting into this city at 9 p.m. and it ended up being, I got there like 12:30 because of the delays. So that is my story. I'm gonna actually make a follow-up video where I'm gonna talk about some of my golden rules that I always follow for safety. So if you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. Turn on your notifications so that you can find out when I publish that video next. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave it below, subscribe, and like this video. Thanks again. Peace.